Can't get away.
And diplomatic relations have completely broken off with the with the Bob King Honda.
See, I feel like you should tell the story. You should be able to tell that story.
Let me tell the story. I can do it.
Because people, I mean, it's very interesting to see what's going on with this shit today.
Yeah. All right. It's just in from the News and Observer. Planning to attend the biggest World of Bluegrass shows? Make sure you're vaccinated.
Are they asking for the card? Is that what they're asking for?
I'm just looking at the headline. I don't have. I can only read like 10 words now. Anything beyond that too long.
So TLDR. Sorry, kids.
Yeah. My world of TikTok is 10 words or less.
TLDR.
Written TikTok.
All right. Yeah, if they did porn and bites like that, would they call it Dick Doc? Yes, I went there. Ha 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 ha
ha. All right.
I'm ready when you are.
Let me get a little. How's that?
Light yourself up. Yes, it does. Actually, it brings out.
And now let's get a little natural light.
Oh, the beautiful olive tones in your skin. There you go. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So I've got some new things, and they're great.
Much better.
Except I'm having a crisis in pairing these up with my iPads.
Oh Lord!
My iPads refuse to recognize that they exist, and it took me forever to pound it into the iPhone, but it's in there now. And now the iPads, they will not cop to it. So I don't know. It's very annoying. Very annoying. But you can't think of anything less helpful and annoying than all the videos that are up about how to do things with wireless headphones.
Really?
God, the people that do them. Holy shit. Hey, I have news. I have some breaking news for people that do that kind of stuff. When you do something where it's showing your hands, you might want to not have fucking filthy fingernails, okay? Jesus Christ.
Nasty ass moldy fingernails.
Yeah. Oh. All right. It's the Brad and Britt cast. Thank you for being part of this, whatever it is. Do it till you're satisfied, whatever it is.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, boy, that's reaching, isn't it?
It is for a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so we got a lot of things to take care of. I titled, for folks who are able to see us below me, I said, "New Taliban, same as the old Taliban." You see, there was this song in the 60s by the Who.
It's funny because they got kind of lapped as a brand. You know, Al Qaeda came along, then ISIS came along, and Taliban was kind of shoved to the background on the world stage. But now they're back with a vengeance, right?
Yeah. Well, they're like, I don't know, they're like the Mustangs. Kind of always been there, and now they've kind of reformulated. They got a new Mustang, got an all-electric Mustang.
You were going.
Sorry,
you were going Mustang.
I've been thinking cars a lot lately. I shouldn't be doing that.
You were going Mustang. I was going to go with herpes. They just kind of stay latent for a little bit, and all of a sudden they come out and they break out and they remind you, terrorist herpes.
Yeah. So, I guess there's this one guy. You know what? I'm at the point now where I don't want to bother to say names of people because it doesn't mean anything to anyone.
Okay, that's fine.
These are 3-part names of the leader, who apparently will be the leader who was around the last time and is a military strategist, whatever his name is. And you've heard the stories already. They're quote unquote guaranteeing that women will still be able to do what they do. And then in the next sentence, it's, but by the way, they're going to probably have to cover from head to toe every fucking inch. You know, anything they say, if we've learned anything, it's anything they say is not to be believed. And what's annoying about this guy, who is the key figure, who's supposedly going to emerge here as the leader. All right, I'll give you his name. His name is Abdul Ghani, Ghani Baradar, Baradar. He was a prisoner, and he was in jail. And guess what? He got out 3 years ago. Who was the president 3 years ago?
Oh, that's a coincidence. Baradar. I understand that Baradar means brother. Baradar is the word for brother in that part of the world.
Right. But this is the guy that quote unquote negotiated for the Taliban, so that we would agree that we were going to get out when Trump set that deadline and proclaim peace in our time. Neville Chamberlain.
This is the so-called Doha Agreement that you're hearing so much about. The Doha Agreement is what you're referring to.
Right. So this is that guy. And again, and you know, I know we just say the same things just in different form every day. It's because the issues don't change. It's just the date on the calendar does. But Donald Trump once again proved himself to be the world's worst negotiator. Okay. The world's worst businessman. Right. The guy who lost more money and and he negotiated this, but Joe Biden decided this was the one thing he was going to sort of agree on that Donald Trump did that he was not going to reverse. Remember, because at the beginning of the Biden administration, they reversed everything of executive order, but this is the one thing he stuck with. But the fact that the Trump negotiated that, and then, you know, Biden has kind of just made it worse here in a way, knowing full well that the oldest cliche of all is time will tell. This could turn out not to be so bad. This could turn out to be the correct thing. The Taliban is pretending. They're saying they want to be part of the world community. They do not want to be thought of as the pariahs that they were in the previous incarnation. That they are not going to do. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Pardon all of us if we're a little bit skeptical on that score.
Yeah, once this Baradar guy got out, they started really negotiating a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and so that's why they were ready to go. You know, just about 4 or 5 days ago, they didn't have to fire a shot. They already had all these backroom deals to come in with all the towns and everything was already set up. There was no shots fired. Right.
The bribes had been paid.
Right.
The checks had cleared.
Exactly.
And everything. So, I don't want to at any level say something positive about this, but you almost have to admire their ability to plan ahead compared to ours. They had a little bit, of course, they knew what they wanted to do. And, you know, we've just been playing defense for 20 years. But then on the other hand, you could make the argument that, yes, it's been 20 years, but the original reason for us going into Afghanistan was to make sure that country would not be another launching pad for another 9/11 style terrorist attack. And by that broadest of broad measures, Afghanistan, a success. Now, of course, there are so many other things that you can talk about, but in that sense, and you know, I almost compare that to the vaccine, which again, we have a kind of a misunderstanding by a lot of people, tens of millions of people, maybe hundreds of millions, who knows, that they think that the vaccine prevents you from getting coronavirus 100% of the time. They think that, or they think that's what it was supposed to do. Of course, no vaccine is 100%. And this vaccine, particularly, developed to mitigate the circumstances that you will encounter should you get coronavirus, which you have a much, much less an infinitesimal chance of getting it compared to people who are not vaccinated. And that seems to be a very difficult concept for people to understand. I mean, Britt, I told you, our son David, he's got it, and his wife has it, and his temperature's high today. It's 102. He doesn't feel well, but it's not like he can't breathe. He's not in the hospital.
Exactly.
And there's no doubt that because he's vaccinated, he's where he is compared to where he might be. He's 30. He's 32. So think of that, and then lay that up against what was our mission in Afghanistan? Was it to prevent another terrorist attack? And gee, if there was a terrorist attack, it would be a mild one. No, that's a bad analogy. No, but it did that. It kind of actually did that at great cost to the United States, at great cost.
Since 9/11, wait a minute. Since 9/11, what has been the great terrorist threat to America? It's been white nationalists and white supremacists launching terrorist attacks. That's been we've got homegrown shit. We don't have to worry about the importing the shit anymore.
I mean, I guess terrorism is like a water balloon. You squeeze one end of it, all the water goes to the other, and so we squeezed Afghanistan, and we did create. I'm going to take the positive view here for a second. And we did create or plant the seeds or build the foundation for millions and millions of people, particularly women, to do things they could have never done under a Taliban-style regime. And they know that. The problem is in the planning and the execution here the last few months. And boy, it doesn't matter. This is the truth this time when they say they're all this way, which is just about every president that we've known in our life is a stubborn asshole at a certain level. They all are. And I guess there's a stubborn asshole contingent that you have to run for president and win the presidency. They all have it. Every one of them. Go Trump, Obama, Bush. They're all that way. And it really, really looks like Joe Biden, who's digging in hard, but the substance of what he said on Monday afternoon really had a lot of truth in it. It had a lot of hard truth. We keep saying that we want somebody to shoot straight with us in terms of what they're saying about things like this. And I think Biden is trying to foul off, whose fault it is that we've got this fiasco going on right now with the exit and tens of thousands of people who apparently we knew of, who we should have been shuttling out of that country months and months ago, the translators and the people that really, really helped us, because we knew that they were going to be in danger. The fact they dropped the ball on this is it's unforgivable. It's terrible. It's horrible. But the other side, as time goes on, we can get a decent number of these folks out, even if it takes sending the 82nd Airborne back to get this done, to move heaven and earth, to secure the people that helped us, and we can get out of there. Well, this is what had to be done. We really aren't in a position to say, well, it's a forever occupation. We're going to be there. We can't do it.
I do agree, but we keep playing the same song over and over again. And if we ever go anywhere, I don't understand why anybody would ever help the United States. I mean, this happened with the Kurds in Iraq, right? This happened that we said, hey, we're going to help you out. They eventually ended up getting slaughtered, and we can only do so much. And I'm not saying that that's our intention, is to fuck these people over, but people will keep getting fucked over. And it's tragic.
Look, you're pointing out the blowback, collateral damage, what happens when we turn out the lights for ourselves in Afghanistan, what happens then? And the next spot, I think, which could make Afghanistan look like kindergarten in terms of its actual importance to us and our future and our economy and our relations with a country called China, is Taiwan,
Yeah.
because the Chinese, they've never considered Taiwan a separate country. They've considered it just a province that they've been unable to rename
Yeah.
and make it a part of communist China. And if China takes the cue from what's just happened in Afghanistan as, you know what, when the going gets tough, the Americans go running. So don't worry. They can talk a big game. They can do, and you know what? This is our chance. Let's make our move on Taiwan. This has gone on for, 50 years of this, and they never do anything specific, but they're kind of training over there in Hong Kong, messing with Hong Kong. But if they go after Taiwan and decide that they want a complete ownership and they just want to annex that as theirs, and they do it militarily, what are we going to do?
Exactly.
What are we going to do? And can we be counted on? And if we could be counted on, what would be the ramifications? Would we go for a full-scale shooting war, if there is such a thing, when you have two countries with nuclear weapons and big egos and things of that? I mean, what would happen? Because just one company in that country holds the key possibly to the economy of the whole world. Taiwan Semiconductor. They're the biggest semiconductor thing on earth. They're number one. That's it. The way Taiwan Semiconductor, and if the Chinese take that country, take over Taiwan and nationalize that company, as everything else that is in China is in effect a nationalized government enterprise, then we're screwed. We're in big trouble. We are in big trouble because Intel can't build a bunch of plants in 3 weeks to start cranking out the capacity that they have. It just so that's the end game.
Jesus.
For us. And I don't even want to be the guy that says, Afghan, that was yesterday's news. Can we move on? It's not what happened in the last 20 years. It's what's going to happen in the next 20 years. Well, that's a bit flippant. So I'm glad
Taiwan Semiconductor has total assets of over $81 billion. It's a fairly large company. It's a pretty big deal. They had an operating income of $13 billion in 2019, the most recent time that they reported. Yeah, it's a fairly large deal. You're right about that.
I know, but I mean, those are just numbers that you can't relate them to anything. I'm just telling you.
I know
they're a leader. They're
massive,
leader.
And if somebody starts messing with that does have ramifications across the world economy. There's no question about it.
It absolutely does, and that's just speaking crass numbers there. But the blame game is on full time, and I don't know what's going to happen.
There's no question what's happened over the past week has been a certain black eye to the United States in terms of foreign policy, in terms of our role on the world stage, all of that stuff. I think it's not been positive in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not knocking Joe Biden. I'm also not praising him. I thought the press conference was good. I thought he took total responsibility for it. But again, he was handed a shit sandwich and he put a little mayo on it. Essentially, I mean, that's what happened. This was always going to be the ending to this story. I'm sorry. For 20 years, this was always how the story was going to end.
It did not have to end with these visuals, with this.
Oh, people falling off of airplanes. Certainly, yeah. That's
right. It didn't. No, and I know it's not fair to roll back the clock, but they've been getting advice, the administration, from the military and from people who have fought in Afghanistan, ex-military, for months and months and months. And you've heard it on the news. We've all heard it, saying that something needs to be done to protect the people that helped us as we get closer to the ridiculously made up September 11th drop dead deadline. It's been months, and apparently just didn't do much, if anything. It wasn't taken seriously. It wasn't a priority. That's the mistake, because had it been taken seriously, it didn't have to end this way. It would not have ended this way. it just doesn't need to be that. And I know nobody could anticipate that the Taliban would march through the country in 7 days and take over everything without a shot fired. And you know what? It's somebody's job to figure that out. They should have known.
It's a lot. There's entire agencies, actually. It's a lot of people's jobs to be able to figure out.
We got thousands of people that analyze shit every day. What do they do? Are they watching TikTok videos all day?
Maybe they are.
By the way, the kind that you watch that are pissing me off. That are pissing me off.
Well, Cardi B does some good stuff. Let's take the tour here. A Taliban spokesman got a question about freedom of speech, and he said the question should be asked to U.S. companies like Facebook, who claim to promote it while still censoring. Brad, which former American president does that sound like?
Britt, just that answer, which comes out of the original Soviet Union playbook,
exactly,
going back to the 1920s. The 1920s, they started this with whataboutism. And it did not matter what the issue is. You talk about human rights around the world. Well, what about the way you treat black people? The Russians would say they would do that. They would bring that up.
Of course they would, yeah.
They would bring that up. But to have these bastards at that moment compare what is going on in this country with freedom of speech as it relates to private companies and our policies. Hey, buddy, you don't need to read our news. Pay attention to your own shit. Who are you?
Right. You can't even they can't even get the water and the power turned on. So why don't you fuckers get the water going in Afghanistan? Why don't you get before you start talking, nobody can get Facebook in fucking Afghanistan because you guys can't get any internet happening there.
Yeah. What about that?
This may be too stupid for us to talk about. Colorado's very own Lauren Boebert, tired of not being the stupidest member of Congress, or at least having you forget that she might be, is now back. She is torched for tweeting that the Taliban are building back better. This was a swipe at Joe Biden's economic land. She was roundly torched on Twitter for being such a drive-by piece of garbage, Brad. Representative Lauren Boebert of Colorado saying that the Taliban are building back better while old man Biden twiddles his thumbs.
Next.
Too stupid for us to talk about.
Yeah, I'll give you one. How about, here's my headline. Never elect a Lee to be your governor.
Well,
Never elect a Lee. Yep. Tennessee decided that they would elect a Lee as opposed to a Wayne or a Ray. Not a Wayne or a Ray. A Lee. Bill Lee. And he's the latest Southern moron governor to sign an executive order saying, hey, no mask mandates, not allowed. Parents are allowed to opt out of any face covering mandates that their local health departments or school boards may implement. Our hospitals are struggling under the weight of COVID, but those hospital beds are filled with adults, said Lee. I guess the news doesn't penetrate into Tennessee, that it's not all adults anymore, meaning it used to be just older people. Now it's getting younger and younger, and there are several hundred kids in hospitals in intensive care all around the country, and I'm sure some in Tennessee also. So again, it's like if you have to get to the point where you stop because someone is so factually wrong, intentionally misstating what's going on, then I don't know where you go from there. Lee's order states that a parent or guardian of a student in K through 12 can refuse to abide by any local mask mandate at school, on a school bus, or at school functions. So here's my big survey question today. Right? Here it is, Britt. Which crazy ass splinter religious group is more of a danger to your health in America? Is it splintered off whack job, so-called Taliban style Sharia law Islam, or is it evangelical Christendom? Which is more dangerous to, and I would, obviously, the way I'm asking the question, you know what I think the answer is because of these people. It is on the front page of our little local paper today. I didn't bring it in here with me. But it's about the quandary that that the hardcore preachers, the Southern preachers, are having, even discussing getting vaccinated with their flocks. They're afraid to bring it up. All right? And just the numbers say that because so many of those people refuse to get vaccinated, and they think that Jesus is going to take care of them, that it's God's will, that's much more of a danger to you than whatever's going on in Afghanistan right now. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it's a much more dangerous thing.
This
I meant to.
Go ahead.
It?
No, I was just taking a look at it. Yeah, I haven't actually snagged it, but yeah, I was going to show you this particular story. Dan Lebitard, the former ESPN radio host, he's now part of this new thing that John Skipper is doing, the former CEO of ESPN. He reminds people that Pat Tillman's life was wasted after 20 years of American failure in Afghanistan. Not only, I would point out, and I'm sure that Dan did went into detail on this too, not only was Pat Tillman's life taken, but then he was also tried to use as propaganda, and the Pentagon willfully lied about what happened to him in battle in Afghanistan. This has been, again, almost 20 years ago, and people have forgotten the story, but he was killed by friendly fire, and they manufactured some sort of heroic sort of narrative about Pat Tillman. His family was lied to, but eventually the truth did come out that he was killed in the friendly fire incident, but the government did not want that story coming out per se, and then lied about it. I have a lot of sympathy for, obviously, the veterans of the Afghanistan war. It was 2 generations that fought in this thing.
I know, but Britt, Dan Lebitard, who, he's like the Tucker Carlson of sports. Okay, he just says shit
not quite
very
fair.
Often just to say it. Okay,
it's not quite fair. There's nobody that compares to Tucker Carlson. I think they even compare any. That's harsh.
I know, but he does just say shit because he's not breaking any news here. He didn't. Pat Tillman died for no reason back when he died, and people said it. Okay.
Well, it has been forgotten. It has been largely washed over, and certainly the Pentagon would like to forget about it.
Well,
and the NFL just wants you to buy the jersey, Brad.
I understand that, but
somehow if you kneel during the national anthem, you're being anti-patriotic. But if you somehow carry the narrative that Pat Tillman was a hero and all this other horse shit, then you're being perfectly fine, and you're being a very patriotic, loyal American. It's maddening. And some people have forgotten that entire thing. And a lot of veterans are going to have a hard time dealing with this. There's the story from the New York Times. U.S. veterans view Afghan collapse with anguish, rage, and relief. There are not many wars in which 2 generations have fought on the American side. I don't think it happened in Vietnam, did it? I mean, it went on long enough to where it could have happened in Vietnam for sure, because as we found out on yesterday's Brad and BritCast, Vietnam being the second longest American war. So veterans are having a hard time dealing with all of this, their role in it, and exactly what happened. And it's going to be, of course, many, many years in addressing the health problems and the PTSD problems and everything else that comes with what we did in Afghanistan, which eventually did not bear fruit for us at all. So you can see how the veterans are having a tough time with this.
Yeah, well, it's not unexpected. When you're president, you got to make the tough call. This was a tough call. It was muffed in the execution, but the overall idea, I think, was correct and does have broad public support. And we do have to make the break and be more cognizant of what Twitter is saying, what cable pundits are saying, and what an article that may randomly cherry pick some people to say something to get that headline that you're just talking about, because we were fucking sick of being in Afghanistan, even if it wasn't front page news anymore. We were sick of it. The country had moved on. The country was over it. And So Biden makes the tough call. They screwed up in the way that they've done it here in the last few days and weeks and months in terms of getting us out. But getting us out is the bottom line. It is the bottom line, and we'll see.
I do have a couple of thoughts on that, because you've heard a lot of the Trump officials trying to polish Donald Trump's turds on that, and we'll get to that in just a moment. This was the headline of just a week ago. Some 70% of the U.S. public supported a withdrawal from Afghanistan. 70%. You can't get 70% of America to agree that ice cream tastes delicious. But 70% of Americans on August the 9th, when this particular story that I'm showing now came out, showed that public. So now, of course, the story and the narrative in the anti-Biden media becomes, well, of course we want it out, but the way he did it was so terrible. The way he did it was awful. That's what we have a problem with. Not that he went away from Afghanistan. Now, of course, the Lindsey Graham wing of the Republican Party, no. We should have been in Afghanistan until the year 3098. There's no question we should be there forever and ever and ever and amen. He represents a small part of even the Republican Party, but most of them are going to settle on the fact that, yes, we want it out, but old man Biden fucked it up.
Right. And of course, there is something in between those two thoughts, which is stay forever, pay forever, or have happen exactly what's happened over the last week, which, of course, the answer is in between that would have been for us to be getting out in a timely fashion here this month, next month after, and having planned better to do it, to get as many people who helped us, who deserve to be brought to this country and given an opportunity. Maybe they don't want to come to the United States. There's lots of other freedom-loving countries around the world that I'm sure will open their arms. There aren't that, this isn't 10 million people we're talking about here, right? We're talking about what, 60, 100,000 or so that they've targeted and named, and they're on lists. Everybody knows who they are, apparently, and have known for a long time. We've known the names of the translators and the civil servants who were helping us. And so I guess in the fractured world of cable news and cheap seat politics, you get the we should stay forever crowd. God, who are those people?
It's Lindsey Graham. That's essentially who it is.
Yeah. Boy, that guy has some issues, don't you think?
He's got some massive issues. There's just a lot of stuff from his childhood he never dealt with.
Yeah, and from his adulthood that he's not dealing with.
And
I didn't say anything wrong. Did I say anything wrong?
No, you haven't
said anything wrong.
Lindsey Graham and I grew up within 35, 40 miles of each other. I mean, at different times, obviously he's a little bit older than I am, but we grew up and very close to, and I think I'm about as 10th as fucked up as that guy is. I mean, I got my issues, but jeepers creepers.
Okay. I don't want to say so.
This particular one I thought was interesting. With economic assets to secure, this is an Al Jazeera story, so consider the source. With economic assets to secure, China embraces the Taliban. This is going to become the next thing, as you see governments recognizing this government as the legitimate ruling government of Afghanistan, whether it be China or whoever it might be. So that's going to be the next challenge right there.
Well, everything is a proxy for everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we've propped up the economy of that country, whatever that consists of, and have been the military protectorate of Afghanistan for 20 years. So, as you know, and by the way, I'm the person who originally said this many years ago, nature abhors a vacuum. I came up with that. That was
me. That's good.
Yeah.
How did you get that?
Yeah. So when the United States goes, and by the way, this is another one I came up with. You might hear a giant sucking sound as
I recall, Ross Perot was the guy who popularized that more than anybody I knew.
If you're not going to allow me some space here to, how should we say, borrow phrases, this is not going to work. All right. So we leave, and the shit isn't even dry on the sand. of the people who are fleeing the cities and trying to get on the airplane. I mean, it's still warm. It's still warm shit there. And here come the Chinese, who never miss an opportunity when they see an opportunity, as opposed to they never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity.
Well,
which again, another original phrase of mine.
Well, we're playing this. We're playing
and
this
they're
again.
in there, but Afghanistan is a mineral rich part of the world. There's lots of shit to dig out of the ground to help fuel your industry. And for all I know, and I don't know what's in Afghanistan, they may have all the crap that goes into iPhones. I don't know.
They may.
It could be one of those things. And boy, and here we go. So if China says, we'll help you dig it all out, we're there for you. And China obviously doesn't care one bit about whether every woman in Afghanistan is wrapped up like a mummy, except for their vagina.
And they don't care,
which can be abused a few times. So they keep having children. It's true. Little Talibans. If they never ever get an education, if they never have any opportunities, China doesn't care about that. They're in a form of that business themselves, so they don't care. They're not into the human rights thing. Okay. Now, we talk a good game, and very often we do it, but we're way ahead of China still on human rights. And so, if they see an opportunity, they're there, and that's what that article is.
Well,
so
this is very similar.
We can go to war with China over minerals, over stuff.
No,
that's what we'll do.
I don't
could
think
be
that's
the next
going
big fight. We don't.
That's
know.
not going to have broad support. I don't think. I don't believe that's going to have broad
well,
support.
I'm not saying an actual war, but in terms of something that could be part of negotiating, say, with the tariffs that we still have in place. Because remember, it's not as if Biden suddenly lifted all the tariffs that Trump threw onto China. They didn't all go away.
No,
most of them, they're still there. So there are things to talk about with them. And this
is very similar to what happened when we pulled. This is China replaying what happened when we pulled out of Iraq. And a lot of people said, well, the Iraqis will sell their oil on the world market. And China went, no, let's make a couple back deals. And they did. They immediately went to the guys in Iraq and said, we're gonna go around the normal channels, and we're gonna wine you and dine you over here in Abu Dhabi. And we got a couple of hotels that we built, and we have people that can speak your language with the correct accent. So it's basically China replaying exactly what happened at the end of the Iraq War. You just substitute oil for minerals, or minerals for oil, basically, is what you do. When it comes to this.
That's a pleasant thought. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't want to deal with this. You know what? I want you to talk now about how proud you must be today that your favorite NFL team, the Las Vegas Raiders, they are the first ones to step forward and say, fuck this. You want to come see a game in Las Vegas in our new stadium, the one that we built 3 years ago, that had nobody last year? We had no attendance. It was empty every time because of coronavirus. You want to come this year? Get your ass vaccinated or you can't come in. That's just it. But I hate the fact that they say, well, if you're not vaccinated, you can come, but you have to get a shot right there on the spot.
Wow.
And then wear a mask. Okay.
Wow.
They're making that little provision. So, I wish they just said no vax, just get the hell out of here. But I guess from a purely humanitarian standpoint and what's best for the community, they're saying that it's probably worth letting in a few people who aren't vaccinated to get them vaccinated. And then if they're in the crowd outside around a bunch of people who are vaccinated, but they're masked, they're not much of a danger to anybody. So that's worth the gamble. So you know what? I'll give them a pass on that policy. It's kind of humane.
But you wonder if the Yahoos out in Nevada, the crazoids, the right-wing Republicans are going to be like, no, we're not going to allow you to do that. We built you a stadium and you can't do it. You got to wonder if that's going to be the back. Now it hasn't happened yet. Because
that's not going to happen though.
And Clark County, they can be pretty stupid in Clark County too.
Yeah. Well, it's basically a Democratic county. Mm-hmm. That's a heavy unionized Democratic county. I mean, that's how do you think Trump lost that
Yeah.
state? He lost Nevada. Remember, he didn't win Nevada.
Well, it was a bit of a contest, but as you could say, speaking of Donald John Trump, who, as he tries to portray himself as a mix of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, John Kennedy, and Harry Truman, it's so unfortunate that video and tweets and documents still exist. The video of Trump gushing about handing Afghanistan over to the Taliban, who would then kill the terrorists. Brad, that does exist, and it is being unfairly put out by the media to hold Donald Trump accountable for stuff that he said.
See, Trump is not the president now, okay? And if you, not you, but anybody has not been able to, at this point, pack up almost every statement he made about everything and put it into the Brad and Britt description for the last 5 years of everything that Donald Trump says this is what we said. We said it's a lie, it's a distortion, it's fact-free, and it's only designed to help him get reelected in 2020. Everything, and so what you're pulling up there, I don't know when he said that, what, last year, a year ago, year and a half ago?
I'll get you the timeline on that in just a moment. But again, as he goes around now saying that he never said anything of the sort.
Right. And so here we go again. So there's actual video of him saying something, and he's going to claim that he didn't say it. And I guess
Brad, this was all the way back last February of 2020.
Wow. Well, So wow.
Yeah. Long time ago.
Yeah. But that being said, and that's all true, okay? And America, that's on you for electing him president, okay? Knowing what he was and what he is and what he always will be. And is there any reason to believe now? Again, we can talk about this almost rhetorically. Was there any reason to believe when he was saying things like that there was any truth, veracity, goodwill, good faith behind what he was saying? The answer is no, because that was early in the year. That was as the coronavirus was emerging. That was the same coronavirus that he knew all about for many, many weeks, maybe a couple months. And the picture that I saw that accompanied the comments about Afghanistan from, is it February of 2020 or March of 2020?
This is the what I just showed you was February 29th of 2020. So it's right.
Okay.
Before.
All right. Right. So that picture that accompanied has him stand there with Anthony Fauci and I think Mike Pence. So that was clearly at a coronavirus briefing, one of those just absolutely outrageous fuck fests.
Well, this was actually the one where he announced, I think, the first death in the United States from COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. So he has Fauci standing there with Mike Pence behind him and Robert Redfield, who was the head, I believe, of he was the CDC guy.
CDC.
Then, right. Right. So somebody must have asked him a question about Afghanistan, and he slipped that in there.
He goes, I will be meeting personally with Taliban leaders in the not too distant future, and we'll be very much hoping that they will be doing what they said they're going to be doing. They will be killing terrorists. They will be killing some very bad people. They will keep that fight going. February 29th, 2020, Donald John Trump Sr.
So, that is so fucked up. This idea that I just want to think about. So this was what, in year 19? In year 19 since September 11, 2001. And Trump, again, with a straight face or whatever kind of face you think he has, stood there and said that he, the great deal maker, would be able to sit down. And now, of course, it is true that he did sit down with Kim Jong-un and he tamed him. Kim Jong-un gave up all his nukes, right?
He did.
And he surrendered.
He cried.
Putin changed his style of operating, didn't he?
He did.
I mean, he's tamed all the great dictators. So only the great Donald Trump would be able to sit down with members of the Taliban who we kicked out of the country, just basically beat the shit out of them and mostly kicked them out of the country. But they weren't dead. They were just gone. They just left. They just went away because of the the firepower that we, along with some Afghanistan military members, secured the country. But they didn't go away, and they didn't change their ideology, and they didn't change their attitudes, and they didn't change their plans for the future. And the thought that a United States president would be sitting down with a terrorist, what is going on there?
Mm-hmm.
But why did that go by without anyone saying, you know, presidents don't sit down and negotiate with terrorists, especially sitting down with terrorists who have vowed to be part of creating a sanctuary to launch terrorist attacks on the United States. At least that's what they were doing the last time they were in power. And for you to sit down, so you're going to take their word. This is what, a year and a half ago, February 2020, that they're going to, what, quote, kill the bad guys? What is he talking about? What was he talking? Who were the bad guys?
Him.
Wait, who were the bad guys?
The Trump administration. They were the bad guys.
No.
Who in his way, in his mind.
But who did he think that the Taliban was going to kill on behalf of us, on behalf of peace in Afghanistan? What? Is there a third or a fourth group we don't know about there? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Is there, that is so crazy. That's so nuts. And I know he's not president anymore, and he's just gone, but he's not. And I know this isn't about, well, you don't say anything about Biden. You're just trying to put it on Trump. No, but a little history doesn't hurt. A little history doesn't hurt in this case. I'm glad you brought it up, because it's important to know that these seeds were planted, because it's very clear that if the Taliban was watching TV that day, and we know they were, and they saw Donald Trump say that, and then you saw the subsequent quote unquote negotiations within a few weeks, well, that was the cue for the Taliban to start putting in place what you've now seen come to fruition over the last week, 10 days. They had it all planned out, how they were going to make sure that the money got paid to the right people to go away to the government. We'll take care of you. Here's some money. You can get out of the country, do what you want, just get away. Don't fight us when we walk into your cities. We're going to take over this country almost without firing a shot. And that's what they did. Think about that. They managed to initiate and finish a bloodless coup in Afghanistan. Hell, we had more blood on January 6th, 2021 in Washington, D.C. At our Capitol building.
That's true.
Than they had at their presidential palace 3 days ago.
It's true.
What is going on? What's going on? So is the nuts and bolts execution of the last week or so of getting our friends out of there and getting all American citizens out, has that been a mess? Has that been a fiasco? Has that been just an inexcusable blot on Joe Biden's resume and his place in history? The answer is yes, but the test of time will be, you know, what happens after this, because this isn't the beginning and the end of history. This is just another moment. It's a terrible moment, and you have to feel horrible for people in that country. There are clearly a lot of really good people,
absolutely,
in Afghanistan. And I can remember, I'll tell you what, I can remember, since we're getting close to the insufferable specials coming up. Where were you 20 years ago? Shit that we're gonna have to tolerate. But we went to New York a couple weeks after September 11th with WBT. And we intentionally ate at a couple Afghan restaurants.
Really?
In Manhattan. Yeah, because, you know, there's
tons. Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this. New York is a very diverse city.
Huh.
They have a lot of ethnicities.
A lot of foreigners. A lot of foreigners up there in New York. Are there?
A lot of foreigners. They come to the United States, and they stay in New York. This is a big secret. but it's
Yeah.
true. Anyway,
How many people know
but we ate in a couple of Afghan restaurants with people who'd lived here for a while, obviously, but they were from that country. They may have escaped during or around the time that the Soviet Union had their little 10-year adventure right there, and they got kicked out, and they pulled back. There is a piece today. I saw it before we started. It's on Reuters. Mikhail Gorbachev, he's 90, but clearly has all of his marbles. And of course, he's saying, well, we learned our lesson. And he was surprised that the Americans went on as long as the Americans did with what is an impossible part of the world to run, to tame, to fight in. Shouldn't do it. But that's Gorbachev. But anyway, I just recall the warmth and the decency of the few Afghans that we met who had already come to the United States. This is 20 years ago, and I'm sure there are a lot of them who would do very, very well here. They would be, when these people come to the United States, they're the best Americans we've got.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every time. You can just about count on it.
We just got to get them here.
You really,
at this
really
point,
can.
that's the problem. Yeah. We just got to get them here.
Just got to get them here and get them out of there. And the mechanics over the next few days are going to be just extraordinary. But it's very clear that had the planning been better, we really could have done this in a more measured, reasonable, intelligent, gradual way. Moved 500 to 1,000 people a day with no drama, and before you know it, in a couple months, you've got just about everybody that wants to get out getting out. But instead, we have this terrible mess. So there's no other way to spin it. I just shudder. I just shudder to watch the events unfold as they do. By the way, did you see the cheap shot that? And I know you're going to be surprised at it. Ted Cruz, the titan of cheap shots, right? The titan of cheap shots for no particular reason. He decided to attack the one reporter who, if she isn't standing out from all the others, would be certainly in the top 2 or 3. That would be CBS and CNN's Clarissa Ward, who, I don't know what they made her out of, that she doesn't give a shit where it is. Yeah. She doesn't give a shit how much her life is in danger. She's there. She's in the middle of it, and she is face to face. She is face to face with these people. If you've seen her reporting the last few days, if you're not shaking your head in admiration, then you don't have a pulse, because she's talking directly to these Taliban guys. And at any moment, one could just pull out a gun and just kill her and her crew. We shouldn't forget the people that are with her. She's obviously got several people who are trying to protect her, and people who are running the sound and the video that you're seeing. So they're equally as courageous as she is. But for Ted Cruz to jump in there right now, and here's my theory that on Ted Cruz, this opportunistic piece of shit. Okay, he knows that the people who he wants to reach, the Fox people and the primary voter people of 2024, if he's running for president, they don't even know who Clarissa Ward is. They don't watch CNN. They don't know about it. So he can spin anything he wants about someone that they really don't know about and don't understand. And say that, what did he say about it? Like, she's never met a dictator that she didn't like. There's never been a bad regime that CNN won't prop up. Just some kind of bullshit. And you want the truth here? From the other day, I noticed this. This is a fact. This was on Friday night and into Saturday. There were 2 networks of the 3 major cable news channels that had people on the ground in Kabul. They're called CNN and MSNBC. And you know what Fox had? Nothing. They had nothing. They had some guy in Jerusalem narrating video from Sky News or some British video that they had, because they didn't have anybody there, because they're too busy with people in this country tracking down people who are pushing critical race theory, and they're too busy tracking down people who are standing up for their freedom to not wear masks and who attend school board meetings. Those are the real people that you want to be covering, and you want to use your manpower if you're going to spread it around the world. But to have somebody in Afghanistan over the weekend, I'm a little busy for that. They're probably there now. I'm sure they are. But maybe they decided not to try to go in. It probably wasn't a good idea to try to fly direct from London to Kabul on Saturday. I don't think the flights were probably running anymore.
This was this is what he said. Is there any enemy of America whom CNN won't cheerlead rather, in mandatory burqas, no less? That was the tweet from Ted Cruz, to which he's getting roasted, including CNN swiping at him for running off to Cancun.
This is such bullshit, because when Fox has had people overseas, just like the other networks, I know that one foreign correspondent, Amy Kellogg, she's been around forever. You may have seen her. I've seen her reporting from the Middle East, and I've seen her with the headscarf on. They all do it. They all do it. But that doesn't matter, Britt. The facts do not matter here.
No, they don't. When
you're trying to score some cheap points from outside the 3-point line, you say anything. You just say anything snarky. And boy, Ted Cruz is the secretary of snark in the Republican caucus in the Senate. So
now tomorrow I want to hear your car buying adventures. We want to get some serious car buying adventures.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've had a full week of wasting my time.
Jeez.
By the way, this will be the name of my book. It's called Wasting My Time with Liars. People trying to sell you a car, and who will do anything. They're like the fucking Taliban, okay? That's all I can say. I just negotiated with the Taliban for a week. Because they would say anything. They would say anything to get me to sign on the dotted line. And
the Taliban actually may be more reasonable than your average car dealer, to be honest with you. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.
That'll be on the next one.
See you guys.